favorite movie at MIFF was Once Upon a Time in Harlem, originally shot back in 1972 by William Greaves and finished by his son for 2026. This is a documentary about a party at Duke Ellington's house, where William invited the best and the brightest that were still around from the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s. And he gave them cocktails and he got them talking. And this is a dense, vibrant, messy, spicy, complicated, brilliant documentary about the Harlem Renaissance. I don't know as much about the Harlem Renaissance as I should. There was a couple of names I was like, oh wait, I know that person. I know Dorothy Savage. But just getting these people in a room in 1972 as the 70s are starting to kick off, as the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s is sadly winding down, and kind of having them reflect not only what the Renaissance meant to them, but what they think it meant to wider society. Did the Harlem Renaissance have any impact on art going forward? Was it important for the time, or was it their own bubble of creativity where they were safe in Harlem compared to the rest of the country? It reminded me a little of about how the queer community talked about New York just as the AIDS epidemic was kicking off, this bubble where they could be themselves and create all this amazing art. It was a fascinating and brilliant documentary. I love how this thing was edited, how it would have these juxtaposing photos of contemporary 1970 a person to who they were in, say, 1919. There were stories of how some of these people's parents were born as slaves, how one guy was born, I think, just after the Civil War. It's insane. It shows you how interlinked and how short our history actually is. But more importantly, the most entertaining thing about this documentary is watching these guys get drunk. And that is fun. That would have been a fun party with me in the corner going, don't mind the white person. I know I don't belong here. But watching them start to shout at each other, their arms waving more, them interrupting each other, trying to get their voice in about these very complicated and amazing subject. Their true personalities came out in a way. And it was really entertaining to watch. It started getting a little bit unfocused toward the end because the subjects themselves were unfocused because of the cocktails. But it's a really important reminder not only of an important period in art, but also what art means and how it moves through history.